glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
What is up, everyone? It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. 49ers show up in a big way and get a huge victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Pretty much secure that if they win the division, they're going to have the number 3 seed, which is absolutely fantastic. You couple that with the Seattle Seahawks loss to the Carolina Panthers, and the 49ers are a Thursday night game away from not only clinching the division, potentially, but, you know, with the Vikings losing as well, being in the possibilities of getting to that 2nd seed. Brock Purdy looked absolutely fantastic in this game. He made some big-time throws, some that made you hold your breath, but overall, the 49ers offense did a really good job. You know, and Jan is talking about injuries. What's up, Jan? How's it going? A ton of injuries. Hopefully not very many of them are going to be serious. We'll see what happens with Deebo Samuel. It's an ankle injury. NFL Network or NFL reporting as of right now, it may not be serious. We'll see what Kyle Shanahan has to say about it. But I thought overall, you know, the 49ers had a couple injuries to Kevin Givens. They had an injury to Kerry Hyder. It would look like an ankle at the end of the football game. It's a tough physical game. And WTM comes through with the super chat and says, yeah, love it. Yeah, absolutely was enjoying this football game. 49ers go in and just absolutely handle the GOAT and Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And what's up, Daryl? How's it going? With a super chat, Daryl says, huge win with a Seattle loss and the Vikings. Yeah, it all went the 49ers' way as far as schedule and win. Teams they needed to lose lost. They got it done. And then, you know, when it comes down to it, hopefully there's going to be good news on the injury front. The knee for Kevin Givens gives me some worry with Hassan Ridgeway being out last week. And then Kerry Hyder, you could tell it was an ankle. Hopefully those aren't serious, but with a short week moving forward against Seattle, the 49ers could be looking to bring in, you know, defensive tackle help. They have Alex Barrett that's on the practice squad, but they're probably going to look into bring in guys like Sheldon Day and other players like that. So hopefully we get good news. And Mr. Corey says, glad they're saying it's not serious. I'm with you. I thought the fact that he was moving his ankle around a little bit, that they actually thought it was structurally strong enough for him to walk off the field and he gave it a try, was good news. He's going to be out for sure against Seattle. I don't think there's any way he plays in that game, but I'm hopeful that he's going to be ready to go for the playoffs. And it looks like the 49ers are going to be playoff bound, and you know they're going to be able to do it with a third-string quarterback. Who would have thought? Joe Rockstar says, Brady lost his house, kids, and game in the divorce. Ooh, just seething. That was tough. Bomber T says the 49ers team store sold out of Purdy jerseys at Levi's. As well, they should. Brock Purdy played a game beyond his years. The way that he moved and navigated throughout the pocket, got rid of the football and made timely, good throws. The way he ran the offense and canned plays and used everything that he needed to do, Oscaring plays, switching them from side to side. He looked like a seasoned veteran. That is not a normal rookie, 7th round draft pick. He's a guy that comes in with great poise, understanding of the offense, and he executed at a high level. And that's why Kyle Shanahan had so many explicit words to use, during the halftime speech, because he's just excited about what Brock Purdy brings to this 49ers team and the way that he stepped up. And, you know, there's so many question marks after the Jimmy Garoppolo injury. And I think a lot of those got answered because that was not a bad Buccaneers defense. That was a good Buccaneers defense. Not a great, but a good Buccaneers defense. And he went in there and not only navigated, but executed at a high level. And thought this was a big win for the 49ers, and they just keep rolling. 6 victories in a row for the San Francisco 49ers. It was not too long ago. You know, there's lots of conversations about, you know, this team, you know, potentially missing the playoffs. And now you look back and you see them at 9-4, and they're one of the best teams in the NFC and a real threat to some of the other teams in this division. It's fantastic. SG says, Debo, whoa. Like that. Ernest says, I hope this is going to be a storybook ending. Yeah, the story is there, right? I mean, it just has to have the ending. and that ending has to end with the 49ers winning a Super Bowl, and that's going to be a tough order, of course, but we'll see what happens moving forward. And Randy Daytona says, we did it. Yes, we did. It was a fantastic performance. My Wild That's Bold prediction came true. If you were on the preview show yesterday, my Wild That's Bold, Tom Brady, who had only thrown 3 interceptions, would throw 2 in this football game. He did it. And the 49ers defense continued to force turnovers, continued to harass Tom Brady. Even though they weren't able to get him down for sacks, they made him throw the ball before he wanted to. They made him rush. And overall, the secondary played pretty good. I did have a little bit of concerns about seeing players getting behind Deommodore Lenoir. Julio Jones got behind him. Mike Evans got behind him. Godwin got behind him. So I think that, that's one thing they're going to have to watch exactly how they went about doing that. But overall, he made plays. He was able to get, play catch up and get there, and Brady underthrew those passes. So it was really, really good. And lots of people in chat. I hope everyone's having a good one. Ernest says Debo injury looked bad. Yeah, I think it's one of the interesting things where it did look really bad, but I don't think it's, from all the reports, as significant as it looked. Every once in a while, you get lucky. And that's the thing. They didn't put an air cast on it. They were letting him move it around. They were structurally checking its integrity. And once it became an ankle, that's a better situation for the 49ers overall. It's not an ACL or anything to do with the knee. That kind of limits what it is. Now, if it's a high ankle sprain, he's out for a while. If it's a low ankle sprain, you're talking 2 to 3 weeks. But we'll find out exactly what that is here pretty soon. So, let's see. Mr. Court says, can't believe what a crybaby Brady was. It turned into embarrassing. Yeah, that was funny, actually. A group chat with my mom and dad, and my mom sends a text message that says, I didn't know Tom Brady was such a whiner. Just funny times. And he was complaining pretty consistently. And Ernest says, I didn't need a replay to see that injury. I didn't need to see it either. In fact, I didn't want to look at it. Nessa says, Ant live, or love the reaction over the live game stream. What game? You and me said, why can't a rookie win the Super Bowl, right? There you go, SL. Why not Brock Purdy? If you haven't had an opportunity, I did put a video out about why not Brock Purdy. We went over, all the things that are, backup quarterbacks winning Super Bowls in this league and how that's tough, but also it's tough because no rookie's ever done it. But why not Brock? And I think it's a fun conversation to have. And now I think more people are going to take Brock Purdy and this 49ers team serious nationally because he came out there and he executed. Bomber teased the entire stadium was chanting Purdy. I haven't seen anything like that in years. You're right. I think the closest thing, to this, I mean, of course, we had the David Carr ones when Alex Smith was playing bad. But I think it would have to be right when Joe Montana was coming back from injury and the entire crowd was chanting for Joe to come back in. I think that's probably the last time. But a fan base is uniting around Brock Purdy, and he's given him good reason why. He's going out there and executing this offense. And, I mean, there was plays where he rolled out on play action, and Joe Tryon and other defenders had him dead to rights, and he made a move and then made a throw. It was a very nice performance, the way he navigated through the pocket, the way he used his legs to make plays. It was a really good performance from Brock Purdy, and I think a lot more people are going to feel more comfortable. Traffic says, so grateful to be a 49er fan. Third-string quarterback and nothing changes. Any other team would be down and out. You're right, Traffic, and I think this team, overcoming injuries, they just don't miss a beat. I don't know if I've ever seen a team that could overcome injuries the way that the San Francisco 49ers do. The way that they're able to, just shake these things off and move forward. There's lots of injuries. And no one would have blamed the 49ers if they would have struggled after the Deebo Samuel injury, the way he was carted off, how emotional he was. But they didn't. They didn't pack it in. They went out there and they executed, and they went ahead and pulled out even more. Christian McCaffrey looked explosive today in the run game. The 49ers had it all going. It was a fun game to watch overall. And Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could just never get anything going against this 49ers defense. John's with San Francisco says Tom Brady just passed the torch of overlooked quarterbacks who become great to Brock Purdy. I love that. What's up, Brad Jones? He says, now that was fun. Lou says, that's bold. Purdy looking great again. It was nice to see Brock Purdy duplicate a performance that he had last week. SL says, with this defense and weapons, CMC went off. He did. It was explosive. It was just last week that Chris Foerster, the run game and offensive line coach, run game coordinator, offensive line coach, talked about the fact that Christian McCaffrey apologized to him for not taking full advantage of the run game and being able to, get through those holes that the offensive line created. He said he was going to be better, and he was better. There was one point, I don't know what he finished with, but there was one point in this football game where he had, I think it was averaging over 11 yards per carry. It was pretty darn ridiculous. He looked spectacular today. He really did look spectacular in this game. Christian McCaffrey was able to do it all, and I think that's really cool. This team, they really got it done, over 400 yards of offense. They, once again, overall the time of possession looks similar, but the 49ers were changing things. But over 200 yards for the 49ers. I think that is spectacular, running the football. And Christian McCaffrey had 14 carries for 119 yards. That's an 8.5 average. And then he had the 38-yard touchdown. And then Jordan Mason came in cleanup duty, with 11 carries, 56 yards. That's over 5 yards a carry. And he had the big 18-yard run. So you see there, and Debo, of course, had the big 13-yard touchdown run in the first half. That was a great play call, great execution from the 49ers. It's just a really, really good performance by this 49ers team. And it feels like they just keep continuing, to get it done. And I'm glad to see chat really supporting Brock Purdy. I love it. Brad Jones says, starting the campaign now for Kyle to be coach of the year if they finish 13-4. Wouldn't that be absolutely spectacular? The fact that every single game they're in is a winnable football game for the rest of the year. 49ers, with a big win over Seattle on Thursday night, that's where all attention is going to be here pretty soon. They're going to basically put this thing out of reach. They're 2.5 games up on Seattle. With the win, they're going to clinch the division. And then with Minnesota falling today, that number 2 seed is within reach. A San Francisco 49ers could get, home field all the way to the NFC Championship game, and one upset of the Eagles away from potentially having an NFC Championship game at home. It is really spectacular the way the 49ers have turned this season around. Once they started executing, they just has been no looking back. Mr. Corey said the score would be 35-21. So really good job on the offensive part of that. And then, Tampa Bay just got nothing going on offense, just nothing going. Google account says, looks like Debo may have dodged a serious ankle injury, but we have to wait for an MRI tomorrow. That is good news overall. Anytime that happens, that's good news. Gold Rush says they should have been our second shutout of the season. Shake my head. It was close. They almost did it. And KDR says, you smell what the Brock is cooking? It's fantastic. Donald Johnson says maybe Brady should have threw his tablet to receivers because better at throwing tablets. Love to see it. And if you watched Jay in the Bay's What's Good show, he talked about the tablets. He wanted to see more tablets getting broke. Tom Brady did not disappoint. And what's up, David Campbell? How's it going? Thomas says, hey, everyone, love how tough they played. It was fantastic. And said, go Purdue. This, of course, says, I have the 49ers Lions game when the Montana came back on VCR tape. Love that. Montana. Spectacular. Jay Hill, what's going on, Jay? Says, Mr. Corey, what you talking about? Lenore has been playing well. Well, what he's talking about is this game itself. Lenore had a little bit of struggles. Last week was probably Lenore's best performance. This week, some question marks. So I think that, it's one of those things where Lenore's got to, clean some things up. They probably took advantage of him on some double moves. I'm looking forward to watching the All-22 and seeing exactly what it was. I Don't Game says, Tua got a lot of shade for his play last week. After today and how Tua-esque Brady looked at times, it's safe to say it might be the defense who's at fault. I'm with you. I think you're correct. Ziggy says, let's go Purdy, baby. Love it. And Jay Hill says, baby, we say in Brock we trust. I think that's a good one. There's a lot of them. And Thomas says, oh, it wasn't Purdue. It was Purdy. Love that. We got a super chat from WTM says, no fear here. That win felt good. No fear here. Love it. Yeah, no fear when you got a team that plays like this. Brad says, and once you're done, go look at the Purdy video. Going to find his family after the game makes you feel great. Oh, I'm going to have to check that out for sure. I want to see that. I want to see him, talking to his family. I thought it was so cool seeing them like on their way, in the airport and all that. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that. Jay Hill says Ant Hill is going to be very fun. Yeah, we're going to have a fun show this week. So make sure you guys tune in to the Ant Hill show and check that out. And Ernest says Brock spitting venom in the passing game. Brock Venom Purdy. I like that. Mr. Corey says, Ant, I already told you the reason we're winning it. Me and Purdy share the same birthday, and he's from Arizona, where the Super Bowl is at. Yeah, I love that it's you and your birthday. Ant, Luce's Ant, thoughts on my new logo? Yeah, I can't see it. I see that it says 262. I don't see what it says on top of that. I'm going to have to check that out further, Lou, but I love that you got the crying, laughing faces. Dan says sweep the season. I still think it's tough to win the remaining 4 games. Just it's tough to win in the NFL. But I do think that the 49ers are going to have a good opportunity. Now, we'll see what that Arizona game means. If the Arizona game at the last part of the season, if the 49ers have won the rest of them, and there's no real meaning for that game, you could see the 49ers rest their starters, and potentially, they could lose that one. But, I mean, I would not count the 49ers out from being able to win all 5 after the performance. They won today. The rest of the other 4, after seeing the performance of this team led by Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy did a really good job. So, I mean, why would we count them out in any of the games? They're going to be favored in every single football game they play for the rest of the year. Ernest says, did you see at the end of the third quarter, 139% QBR? That is ridiculous. Lou says, Ant, I like that Kyle seemed to open up the offense more. It felt that way. I thought what was interesting is the end of the first half, I really felt that they were just playing for a field goal. Next thing you know, it's a double move, and Brock Purdy throws the ball, which felt like it hung up in the air forever, and that Brandon Ayuk was waiting for it for a long time, but it ends up getting it done for a huge touchdown. They were just willing to make the plays, and Brock Purdy was taking advantage of every open receiver he could find. I am so interested in the All-22. I'm so interested in all the breakdowns that are going to happen, this week, and I think it's going to be a fun week. We're going to get to see Brock Purdy's huge game, but also it's going to be a quick turnaround for Seattle. So buckle up. Lots of stuff this week. It's going to be great. SL says, I know Kyle said Purdy isn't a run threat like Trey, but to me, he's like a mix of Jimmy and Trey. Great footwork and great poise. Yeah. One of those things where he's not as dynamic as Trey Lance with the football in his hands as far as running. But he has enough of a burst to extend plays. And as we saw around the goal line, he feels comfortable getting touchdowns. You're talking about a guy that was a double-digit touchdown guy on the ground as a quarterback. I wouldn't exactly put him as a run threat, but he's someone you have to keep your eye on, right? If you don't keep your rush lane integrity, he can get outside and create, and that's what he was doing in this football game. He kind of just can go off the cuff. Everything. He's not a robot. Not everything has to go perfect for him to be able to execute. I think that's a nice trait to have in a quarterback, because most of the time things aren't going to go exactly how you want. And when that happens, how do you react? And I think he's one of those guys that reacts really good on his feet. He can throw off platform, and all those things go to help him really make good plays. So I was excited about it. WTM says, what grade do you give the offensive line? I thought the offensive line was spectacular today. I'm giving the offensive line an A. Without rewatching this game, I'll have to rewatch it, of course, but I would give them an A in this game. I thought they really held up good. They were able to pick up the stunts, the blitzes. I mean, were there free rushers at times? Yes. But they ran the football for over 200 yards. They kept Brock Purdy upright for most of the football game. Giving an A to this offensive. Google account says, bro, even one of my tablets Brady threw got intercepted. Ooh, love that. Abdul says, we need to hope Debo is okay and rest him for a few weeks if he is. Yeah, the good news is if it's something like a low ankle sprain, which, I mean, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But if it is a low ankle sprain, it's usually a 2 to 3 week injury. He misses Seattle, but then they have a long time off before Christmas Eve when they would play the Washington Commanders. So that gives him a lot of time to be ready. So there's potential, if it's a low ankle sprain, for him to be ready for the Commanders. But you could probably leave him out until New Year's Day if you wanted to, and play him against the Las Vegas Raiders. Or, like you said, Abdul, you could just let him rest because potentially you can win all these football games. I think the most important game is a Seattle game. And if the Seattle Seahawks, if you feel like you can beat them without Debo, you go ahead and do it. I mean, you'd like to have him out there, but the 49ers have plenty of weapons to be able to overcome it. Jan says Hufanga also needs to clean up some things up. I've gotten lucky early, need to stop getting baited. Yeah, something happened there. There was a breakdown in coverage. You can see Hufanga on that big touchdown to Evans that gets called back. He comes up, he recognized something. He thought it was the screen, and it ended up going the wrong way. I think he's a very instinctive player and very intelligent, a lot like Fred Warner. But I think sometimes he gets caught because of it. And those plays are, catching up to him. So I think they want him to continue to be instinctive. They want him to trust his instincts. But at some point, if you're getting beat a lot like that, your instincts are, doing you a disservice, and you need to trust your eyes more. So we'll see if he goes more to reaction than pre-game adjustment or pre-play adjustment. But you're right. I mean, Hufanga needs to make sure he doesn't get beat. You can't give up those big explosive plays. Those can change a game. David Campbell says, it's a route when TB goes for it on fourth 7 times. Spectacular stat right there. Brad Jones says, did these question marks about Lenore come in the second half or the first half as well, considering we were basically playing prevent defense in the second half? I think it was both. It's both halves for me. My thoughts have always been about Lenore, just that he would stick with guys. I thought last week was probably his best game as a pro, and I thought this week that there was a couple times where defenders got behind him where he's having to run chase. He's chasing it down. He's losing contact. Luckily, he did get his eyes around for one of them, and that prevented from being any pass interference. I don't think it's like a terrible, but I just think it's something that he needs to clean up a little bit. And I think that when you have a young player, that's kind of normal. So more than likely, Tampa Bay found something on film, and they were getting him to jump on routes and then kind of getting behind him a little bit. But we'll see. Marvin says, Jimmy Johnson and Howie both just said Brock Purdy could take the Niners to the Super Bowl. Wow. You never thought we would hear that, but when you got a defense that's as good as this with the offensive weapons, and then just as well as Brock Purdy looked in command, why not Brock, right? I mean, it's spectacular. Mr. Course says the Broncos need to give us DJ Jones back for the playoffs. Would love that if they decided to go ahead and waive him. Would take him in a heartbeat. Google says, why do you think Brock Purdy was selected so late in the draft? A lot of it's measurables. So sometimes, with these quarterbacks, you see Brock Purdy, he's just a little over 6 foot, like 6'1", 212 pounds, 4'8", 40, nothing special. Where they're drafting quarterbacks that have special, size, arm strength, athletic ability. So with somebody like Brock Purdy, they're talking about the fact he doesn't have a lot of size, and then he has not the strongest arm in the world. I think everyone can see that on display. But what he does really great is he throws with anticipation. He understands how to run an offense. He has great command. He has great footwork. And those things, are very beneficial to some coaches. And that's what you're seeing right now from Brock Purdy. It's not always going to be the case, but it seems like it's working out with Purdy. And WTM with the Super Chat says, name 3 ways you'd like to see Purdy improve. I think the first way I'd like to see Purdy improve is I just want to see him at times maybe get a little bit more on the football down the field. I mean, he took some hits in this game. I think number 2, I just want to see him continue to get even more of a grasp of this offense. I think the more he learns, the more he understands, the better he'll get. And then number 3, I think it's just going to be just keeping his poise. And I know he did a very good job in this game, but I just want him to continue to work on that. Traffic says Brock Purdy has more wins versus Tom Brady than Josh Allen. Just saying what you want with that. That's freaking great. Love that. Uncle Rob comes through with B-Rock. Loving it. And Edgard says, hey, Niner bros, simply 49ers today are super bang machine. It's that. Yeah, it's great. It's a good day to be a 49er fan. Luce's Aunt Purdy has great pocket awareness for a rookie. You gotta love that. I do. I mean, that was he made things happen. And sometimes I just laughed. Other times I'm just like shaking my head like this is stupid, because you don't normally expect a third string quarterback to come in and do what they did. But he looked spectacular. I'm excited about him. Traffic says if you clinch next week, no reason to rush Debo back. A healthy Debo is way more important than a potential better seed. Oh yeah, I don't think you rush him back because you feel like you can still beat the teams that are there without Debo Samuel. So I think Debo will come back at some point, hopefully. I mean, depending on what the MRI says, hopefully it's good news. That would be good. And Jan is wanting the Colts to give us Buckner back. Everyone's wanting defensive line help. We're going to probably need a little bit. Marvis is in the interview after the game. Purdy gave all the credit to the team. It takes a team to get to the playoffs and win. Love that from Brock Purdy. Really smart and just, he's just well beyond his years. Gary says, fake Brady, where's the real Tom? I mean, they're definitely struggling there in Tampa Bay. The offense hasn't looked the same. Tom Brady still been having a pretty good year. He was 16 touchdowns with 3 interceptions coming into this game. Now he's 17-5. So, I mean, he's not having a terrible a terrible season, but this really great defense for the 49ers made him look very average in this football game. David Campbell says 49ers defense is the only team in the league that have allowed under 200 points. Almost a quarter of those happened in one game. That Kansas City game, ever since then, the 49ers haven't lost. It was a turning point in this season. So sometimes big losses like that get you motivated to go the right way. Brad Jones says Debo high ankle sprain. Brad says if they beat Seattle, Debo should not be back until the wild card weekend. So high ankle sprain means he's going to be out for probably the rest of the regular season, and that's understandable. The good news is with the way the 49ers have been playing, they should be able to win enough football games to get into the playoffs, and then Debo can come back and help the team. So a crisis averted, and I think that's good news for the 49ers. Do we want to see Debo get hurt at all? No. Michael Humphrey says, can you imagine the drama of the 49ers win the Super Bowl with Purdy? I want it, Michael. I want all that drama. Bring that drama. I want that talk because I want the 49ers to win a Super Bowl. I want this conversation to have to be made. Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. I just, why not, right? Let's just have that conversation. And I hope it's caused by a Super Bowl victory with Brock Purdy at the helm. Marvin Rosa still have Ayuk and Jennings and McCaffrey and Kittle. Plenty of weapons. Google accounts that Danny Gray caught a pass. It was nice. Danny Gray ran a nice slant, caught the ball, got a first down, got his feet wet. His blocking still a little something to be desired. But hey, we're seeing improvement from the young cat, and Josh Johnson put the ball on him, and he made a nice play. You got to love that overall from Danny Gray, and they might need Danny Gray. So we'll see. I think it's good news about Deebo Samuel potentially being high ankle sprain. I know those can be those 6-week injuries, which is not great, but hopefully it's less than. Mike Humphrey says, Kyle said it looks like Deebo was a high ankle sprain. Mr. Corey says, Shannon is saying it's most likely high ankle sprain. Mr. Corey says, Deebo out. I wonder who Kyle is going to run up the middle and get injured next. Come on, Mr. Corey. Really? Come on now. I mean, this is the thing. It's football. It doesn't matter if you run outside or you run inside. You have the opportunity to get hurt. It's just, it's something that can happen. And you know what? Deebo Samuel happened to get twisted and get hurt, but this is not as a result of Kyle Shanahan running an offensive play in the second quarter up 21-0. If this was the fourth quarter, we would have a different conversation. But this is the second quarter of a football game, and all the conversation has been that Kyle Shanahan can't finish games. They lost, that Super Bowl to Tom Brady 28-3. 21-0 in the first half. Let's go. Come on, guys. You run your offense, and that's the thing. Deebo is one of those guys that he runs it outside, he runs it up the middle. It's just what has to be done. And then Lou says, what's the status with Givens? I haven't heard anything about Kevin Givens. I just heard that it was a knee. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to be with Kevin Givens. I'm hoping for good news. Givens has had such a spectacular year. The loss of Hassan Ridgeway, we're just missing so much on that interior defensive line. So I don't know. Mr. Corey says maybe Jordan Mason, who has never done anything wrong, when he gets chances, can play more. No reason to be running Deebo up the middle with him and Ty Davis Price on the team. Why? Why, Mr. Corey? Is Deebo Samuel not one of the most dynamic weapons, a wide back? No one was talking about him running up the middle when he was doing it against Dallas to win the football game in the playoffs last year. No one was doing that when he was doing it in the NFC Championship game to beat to try to beat the Los Angeles Rams. Nobody cared last year when he was tearing it up. They only care after the fact when he gets hurt. You don't think about that stuff as a play caller, and there's no way to be able to foretell when injuries are going to happen. You go out there, you call plays. The game plan was for Deebo Samuel to get runs outside and for Deebo Samuel to run read option. Deebo Samuel was running a play off to the left side, but it presented itself to run up the middle, and he cut up the field. And it's crazy to me. There's no way that you can blame Kyle Shanahan for injuries that happen in this football game. I can't get with it. I just can't get on that. So I think that, Deebo Samuel's injury is unfortunate, but there's no one to blame here but just football in general. Things happen. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just how football is. And if you start changing your play calls to try to protect players instead of using them as the threats and weapons that they are, your offense is going to take a hit. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan's going to do that, and I would not tell him to do that. And he says, were those running backs on the team last season? It doesn't matter. It's the way that you have to use your dynamic players. One of Deebo Samuel's best assets is the fact that he's a dynamic runner. Deebo Samuel had a 13-yard touchdown run today. That was Deebo Samuel. Do I think Jordan Mason is a very nice player? Yes. But Jordan Mason in that sort of situation is not as dynamic. Part of the reason they had Jordan Mason in the football game when Deebo Samuel got hurt, and part of the reason they did is because it changes the way a defense plays. You're trying to look for matchups, you're trying to look for numbers, and that's what it afforded you, putting Deebo in that situation. So I'm not going to agree with you on this. It's one of those things where, I mean, I think that this was a very positive game for the 49ers. Injuries suck, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not because Kyle Shanahan called that play that Deebo got hurt. It was because Deebo got his leg underneath the defender. That's why he got hurt. So it's just unfortunate. I just think it's unfortunate. Marvin says, is football and injuries are part of the game. Exactly. SL says, I'm with you, Ed. There's a huge group of Niner fans that want Kyle to fall, want to blame him for everything. I'm not with it either. Yeah, I mean, Kyle's done a really good job. I think he really is. It's WTM says, I'm not mad at Kyle. I respect every play call. It's called football. It's unfortunate, and I think, like I said, this Kyle Shanahan has had his moments. Last year in the fourth quarter against the Lions, he had Jason Verrett and he got hurt, and people kind of were critical of that. And I think if the run would have been in the fourth quarter, of this game and they would have been up, by a significant amount, we'd have a different conversation. But I just don't see it, and he's been pretty consistent about when he brings Jordan Mason in. Mason's doing the Elijah Mitchell role and coming in the second half and being a hammer. And I think that's worked out pretty well. And that's part of the reason he's running in those situations. But it changes the offense when Jordan Mason's in there compared to when Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel are in there. Mr. Corson, as far as the timing of the run, he ran Deebo up the middle in a blowout in the fourth quarter against the Falcons last season. He probably did. And I could use your own argument against you. Where were those other running backs? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's the thing. You can't have it both ways on that. And, I think that when it comes down to it, injuries make everyone, especially in San Francisco, just see bad things. But, Kyle Shanahan in the first half, I'm not going to criticize him for the way that he used Deebo Samuel. I wouldn't criticize him if he used Brandon Ayuk in that situation. It's just not. And people get, tied up about running between the tackles. You can get hurt anywhere on the field, but I mean, it's you're allowed to feel your own way. I'm just telling you, I'm never going with that way because I was a play caller for a long time, and I never considered where I was running a player or how I was getting him the football as far as him being injured. That's not something you think about. You just think about putting him in the best situation to be successful, and if that meant running him up the middle, then I'm for sure running him up the middle. Google account says, I agree. Blaming Kyle Shanahan for playing his player doesn't make sense. The same with Trey Lance. He was obviously drafted because of running play making ability. Hence, that's how Kyle used him. Yeah, exactly. I think that, that's very true. And Brad Jones says, apparently Purdy has an oblique injury, and they are not worried, but perhaps something to watch for this week. Very interesting, Brad Jones. Thank you for that update. Brock Purdy did take a couple of big hits in this football game. Hopefully it's nothing serious and he's able to roll. Would definitely rather have Brock Purdy than Josh Johnson at the helm. And when you have Seattle coming up, it's definitely, something you have to pay attention to. But I mean, I think this is, overall, it was a great game for the San Francisco 49ers to come away with a huge victory. And, against a team that, even though Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6-6, they're the closest team to you as far as playoff seeding. And the fact that they're getting so close and you were able to kind of put them down, I think is huge for the 49ers moving forward. Mr. Corey says, I defended him against getting Trey Lance injured stuff because was a read option. I left it up to him. I like Kyle, but he's not above criticism. I don't think he's above criticism either. And that's why I said, Mr. Corey, you're allowed to criticize him. I just can't go there with you. I'm just going to have my opinion. You're going to have yours, and that's fine. I don't expect us all to agree, and I know you don't expect us all to agree either. That's part of the fun of having the discourse and the conversation is that different people see football different ways, and we're all kind of determined. Our thoughts are determined by our previous situations or how we view it, and we just see it different, and that's okay. And I'm going to sit here and, and I'm going to have my point of view and you're going to have yours. And I think that's what's great about the conversation. Yeah, and Mr. Corey says, I guess Jerry Rice was wrong to say the same thing I just said. Yeah, he was. I'll tell Jerry Rice. I have no problems with that. Jerry Rice, I mean, he said what he said, and that's fine. And Jerry Rice is entitled to his opinion, just like I am. But it doesn't make him right because he played in the NFL. It doesn't make him right because he was a very good football player. It just makes his opinion his opinion. So I think that's just how it is. And I'm with you, Mr. Corey. I'm glad no one is seriously injured. I think that was what scared everyone. Everyone seeing Deebo Samuel down and the way he was and him getting carted off was what got it. So basically, what Jerry Rice said, Jan, was that stop running your star players up the middle. And then he tagged Deebo Samuel, he tagged Jimmy Garoppolo, and he tagged Trey Lance. That was what Jerry Rice did. That is wrong what he did because now he's making it a bigger story than he is. If he wants to have his opinion, that's fine. But, that's what happens sometimes when these players talk. And like I said, I think he jumped the gun because he was a little upset about what he saw. And I think it's okay to be upset. But that turns a firestorm on Twitter. They go crazy when this stuff happens. And there was a lot of people that ran with that opinion. And that's okay. But I'm just saying, like, that's not how football is. And it's not about running players up the middle. I mean, Jerry Rice, he ran the ball on the outside in the Super Bowl in 1994 and injured his shoulder on a reverse. That wasn't up the middle. That was outside. So some things happen. That's just the way it is. Gary says, away games, they use a fake body double for Brady. That's pretty interesting. I like that. Mr. Corey's back to getting DJ Jones for the playoffs. Would love that. I would love to get a interior defensive lineman, and they're probably going to work out a couple of guys in this football game, to be honest. So more than likely, that's what's going to happen. And who those guys are going to be, I know Jay Ellie had brought up a bunch of guys, during the one of the shows earlier this week, brought a lot of interior defensive linemen that were available, and there were still some very talented guys. And they're probably going to need a couple of guys depending on what we find out about Kevin Givens, and also Kerry Hyder, because Kerry Hyder's been playing a very hybrid role, the outside and the inside. And with them having Alex Barrett on the on the practice squad, they could go with Barrett. But I think that they probably want to bring in some guys. T.Y. McGill played pretty good today in his limited snaps, but he'll be asked to have a bigger role next week in the game against Seattle, because they will have to stop that run of Seattle if they want to have a chance to win. We'll see if Kenneth Walker is going to be available. He was a scratch today. He's been dealing with some injuries as well. And Jan says Sheldon Day will do. Yeah, they did bring him in for a workout earlier. And Lou says TCC, hit that like button. I really appreciate any likes that we could get. I really appreciate that. Definitely goes to help the video do better. So thank you guys so much for that. Marvin says when Jimmy was injured, he was not running up the middle. He was running for his life away from the defense. Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. He got brought down like that and injured. Injuries are a part of the game, and it just sucks anytime a player gets hurt. I wish we could turn injuries off. That way you could just see, the best teams, win, and the best 53 guys, the best 48, they get to go out there and play. But injuries are a real thing, and being able to overcome those injuries is part of the game, and the 49ers do it at a really extremely high level. Mr. Square says, wanted a Bosa sack to stay in the sack lead. Glad Parsons didn't get one today. Let's hope Justin gets none tonight. Yeah, Bosa wasn't able. I knew this was going to be kind of tough to be able to get home. Tom Brady doesn't get sacked very often, and I mean, Nick Bosa almost got him. Tom Brady threw that one out. I still thought it should have been intentional grounding. His knee inches from the ground, just wasn't able to get him all the way down. That was really close. I thought Bosa had a couple near misses. Greg Jackson had a couple near misses as well. And Marvin says having pepperoni pizza to celebrate the W over the GOAT. Love that. Great. WTM. The super chat says, Coach, what's the biggest takeaway from this game? The biggest takeaway from this game is that this 49ers team is built to win in the playoffs. It doesn't matter who's pulling the trigger at quarterback. Even though Brock Purdy did a really good job, we've seen them have success with, every quarterback that they've put in there. And with having the weapons that they have, they can overcome injuries. The defense is the real deal. They're a championship caliber defense. And with that, they're in every single football game that they play. So it doesn't matter if it's Brock Purdy or, heaven forbid it's Josh Johnson. The 49ers have an opportunity to win because of the way this team has been built and the way that, the defense plays. Brad Jones says, wondering what Drip Bayless is going to say His man crush got crushed, and his Cowboys almost lost to the Texans. Well, he was already starting to say that he wants the 49ers to play the Cowboys in the playoffs, and the Cowboys would beat the 49ers in Levi Stadium. That's what he's already getting out there. It's crazy. Jose says, I haven't been here in a while. What's good with Coach? How's it going, Jose? I hope you're having a good one. I'm doing great. Enjoying a nice 49ers victory, having a good conversation with a bunch of really, really good people here. Mr. Sinister says, I wanted the Cowboys to lose. So close. It was close. Houston Texans almost got it. Marvin, have a good one. Enjoy yourself. I hope you have a good time enjoying your victory pizza. Mr. Corey says, do you think Hufanga is regressing a little? No, I think they're just taking advantage of his aggressiveness a little. I think early in the season, he was going off instincts and he was able to make plays. And now they're kind of seeing what he does on film, and they're trying to take advantage of his eagerness to see certain keys and jump on those. And I think what they're doing is they're giving him those keys and then changing it up a little bit. That's one of the things you can do as a play caller is you can go ahead and confuse guys. If they think they know what you're doing, that you could give him that same look and give him something else. And I think that's what's catching him. So right now what he's going off is so much pre-snap, and pre-snap is great. The things that you read in pre-snap are fantastic. Those can give you an advantage, give you, steps ahead. But really the main key is you settle in and trust your eyes. Sometimes you can say, hey, you know what? I see this and I'm going to be aware of that, but I need to trust my eyes during the play. And I think he'll get to that right now. But he's one of those guys that's like, he's really putting all the focus in on film study, on keys. And I think they're taking advantage of him a little bit. And I think he'll settle in here in the next couple of weeks. At least I'm hopeful that he'll start trusting his eyes and really start making a play. And WTM says, what grade do you give the secondary? I'm going to give them a B-. I thought the secondary played pretty good today. They were able to get a turnover. Tarvarius Ward, I thought, played fantastic, but I did think Deommodore Lenoir, got beat a little bit. And then also Talendo Hufanga had a couple of struggles as well. But Tarvarius Ward, Jimmy Ward had a very good game. They look really good. So I'm going to give them a B-. Of course, I want to watch the All-22 film. That's when you can really see the secondary a lot better. But, that'll come up during the week. But thanks everyone for coming through for the game reaction show. I really appreciate it. Had a great time having a conversation with all you. Now I'm going to go off and do some Christmas stuff with my family, but I really appreciate everyone that came through, and I'll see you all during the week for all kinds of content. It's going to be a fun week. 49ers for Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. A win clinches the division. Going to be a great week. So everyone have a great one. And we'll catch you on the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.